It's Black Monday, baby, and perhaps one of the worst days in the past 50 years for just general markets, and Bitcoin and the rest of cryptocurrency market being certainly not safe from that whole equation. So in today's video, I want to be going over the very specific numbers that for tonight's daily closure would actually keep hopium intact, as well as if Bitcoin fails to meet that number, well, then we have to be looking much lower, and then basically any sort of bounces are probably just that, bounces before going lower, and really just opportunities to kind of offload positions. So I do want to say that Monday, of course, is kind of like a panicky day because, traditional markets weren't trading over the weekend, all these sort of news pieces coming out with World War III and Japanese yen and all this and that and the next thing. And Monday typically is going to, where you see like the worst of the worst. And then it's Tuesday/Wednesday where you do see a bit of a turnaround and a bit of a continuation. So I do want to say at the outset of this video that very rarely do we ever see panicking in the moment as rewarded long term, especially if you're more long term minded with these positions. For short term, obviously that's a completely different thing. But if you are more long term minded, you're probably going to get a better exit if you do want to exit later on in this week. But first things first, I want to get into the very specific number that, if met today, would actually keep the hopium alive. It does seem unlikely right now, obviously, but it would be based off of this right here, the same thing that we looked at over this past weekend and several times in the month prior, and that is a hash ribbons indicator. And if today does close below this red circled low right here, which is officially 55,900, then this condition will be invalidated, and I would be looking significantly lower probably over the next few months. We could expect Bitcoin to come down much more. Of course, we've all seen crazier things, and a little bit less than a $4,000 rally over the course of 16 hours, 36 minutes, and 28 seconds and counting for Bitcoin here. So it's going to be a long day left to go. But if Bitcoin does reclaim that region by today's closure, this would keep the hopium alive and likely be a major opportunity, for long term. I do think it's obviously unlikely as of right now, but that would be the condition for that. And of course, we've seen this condition violated only 3 times in Bitcoin's history. So 3 out of 19 times actually. And of those 3 times, the minimum price action to the downside to follow was about 24 to 25%. The maximum was like 40 to 50%. That was coming off of the Rona dump. So if Bitcoin does violate this condition, that is significant. That's like a major violation of like my long-term thesis on this. And at the end of the day, you can figure out probably what the hell I'm doing because, well, that was a big basis of this current consolidation that I was, going off of myself. Doesn't mean it's going to be 100% right, but does give a nice probability. And on both sides, we do have areas of interest to be aware of. So let's now talk about what is the worst case scenario. What is the worst case scenario here if Bitcoin does fail below this low, meaning that it closes today below this low? Well, at that point, I want to reference a few charts here. The first one that I'm going to reference is actually the monthly time frame for Bitcoin on the HPDR indicator. We did identify that there were several concerning things to open up this new month of August on our monthly looks, both with the HPDR closing below the median, also with the monthly accumulation and distribution also having a negative slope, which was pointed out right here. And then also, as of right now, Bitcoin is losing that red 5 exponential moving average, also losing the monthly moving average on the RSI, and also getting rejected out of the bullish control zone, and the monthly Joule is also turning down all at the same time. So to be honest, like to call it this hopium scenario over here, I do think it is very low probability, but again, can be proven wrong, obviously. So that will be seen in about 16 and a half hours. But anyways, the monthly HPDR gives us some pretty interesting areas for, worst case scenarios to the downside. I believe I made a Twitter post on this one earlier, but basically these areas right here correlating with all these major levels are going to be at least bounce attempts, I would suspect, and perhaps maybe the next major low. The most proximal to current price action is a 38.2 level, which is 45,000 and 45,650 or so, which, seems like Bitcoin can maybe even test that today. The 50% level is right here at about just below 40,000 bucks at 39,400 officially. And then we got the 61.8 level right here, which is 33,500 again. If Bitcoin does close below this pivot, at basically 56,000 bucks by the end of tonight, one of these levels I would assume is going to be the next major low. And from that pivot, let's just actually see what that would look like on a percentage basis to the most close one at 45,650. That would be an 18.5% drop. So would actually be less than the minimum that we've seen upon that hash ribbons violation, that hash ribbons condition violated. The next one at 39,400 would be about a 30% dump. So that would actually be within the data set, right in the middle there. And the one below that would be 33,400, which is about a 40% dump, which is actually on par with what we saw from the Rona dump. So one of those major levels is where I'd be looking towards. And, how long can that take? I mean, timing is always very, very difficult with these sort of things, but I would imagine anywhere between, now and the next 3 months or so. Anyways, moving on from there, I did want to get into one of our more long-term charts here, again, talking about worst case scenarios, in that the Bitcoin production cost chart on caprioli.com has updated, and the current basement price for Bitcoin, which has never really been violated consistently on a closing basis, is currently at 44,600. Now that can obviously move further down as as price evolves from here, but as of right now, that would be the level. So going on it day by day, that would be kind of worst case scenario today if things do get that much worse, I suppose. But yes, that would be something to be aware of, and that we'll continue to kind of monitor on this current move to the downside. Now, Bitcoin is trying to have a bit of a bounce right here, as we spoke about at the beginning of this video. Bitcoin did hit on the daily HPDR, the 97.5 region, which is just below 50,000 bucks here. Sorry, 49,000 bucks. Jesus Christ. So, bouncing off a region like this intraday is kind of likely. It's actually almost at the 95% region. So, if you're taking this into context of the historical statistics, it implies that historically speaking, it's like it's like a 5% probability that Bitcoin even closed below the 95% level. Of course, that is still a probability, and you do expect these extreme regions to get hit in extreme events. So, if we really are seeing like a World War III type situation or something like truly disastrous, those are the times where you're going to see this kind of shit hit. But as of right now, bit of an intraday bounce, and again, I guess hopium is still potentially alive. If Bitcoin can turn this bounce back above basically about 56,000 bucks. So I guess we'll find that out tomorrow as to whether this thing is either a major opportunity or not. But personally speaking, I will be waiting, yes, to explain my own behavior over the past few days here, because I did put out a video on the hash ribbons, as well as many other things as well. I did take longs, right below about 59,000, and I will take a loss on this position, obviously, but at the end of the day, it is to be considered within the grand scheme of things. And of course, when we've seen the last few of these signals work out to tremendous effect, I do want to say that look, losing one out of many, not a terrible do, especially long term. When you do add these up, I mean, these have all been, or not all of them, but most of them have been tremendously powerful signals, and have been extremely rewarding. So, at the end of the day, that's trading. That's trading. You take some losses along with the wins, and that's what it is. But for myself, I will be waiting till the end of the day here, and that just is what it is. Anyways, okay, all right. I think we have hit pretty much all the points for this video. A little bit on the shorter side here. I do want to reference another thing, just because I know like a lot of people are pointing this out right now as well. And why not? Everyone's looking at the not everyone, but most people are looking at the Japanese yen versus the US dollar, and looking at this as kind of like a barometer for risk, as the carry trade for the Japanese yen basically unravels itself. I mean, yes, I do think that the reversal is real here. I mean, this is maybe one of the most powerful weekly jewel signals you'll maybe ever see in your life, actually. That is about as picture perfect as you can possibly get it. Obviously, I wasn't watching this before, but it is in there, and that can obviously evolve into the monthly as well. So this, if we're going off of this and we're kind of taking that old saying into account, show me the chart and I'll tell you the news. Yeah, this can get certainly worse. So, there is potential for that. And of course, if we look at the Nikkei, let me find it right here. There we go. We can find that. Japan having a fucking terrible day. I mean, shouldn't be laughing at this kind of stuff. It is truly terrible. But goddamn, that is just awful. And just like we saw a perfect Joule buy signal on the currency pair, we see a perfect Joule sell signal right here. I mean, this is like as fucking picture perfect as it gets. Probably in for some bounces relatively soon. We can also check out traditional marks here too. I think NAS came all the way down to like low 17. Again, these are kind of bouncy areas. Maybe does it make one more swipe towards like 17,000 even or 17,200 before a bounce attempt? Maybe yes, maybe no. Perhaps around U.S. market open later today. But I would be looking for these areas to bounce. And then if you do want to offload positions, again, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but I can tell you what I'm doing myself. I'd be waiting for that bounce, and probably you get like a reconnect with that 5 exponential on the weekly here, and that is actually significantly higher right now, which is rather interesting. Within the next week or two, something like that. And then if there's going to be further continuation down, you're probably looking around that time as well. So again, a very long day left to go. This is the main thing that I'm watching over here. 55,900 is the official number. If Bitcoin closed below there, I'm looking for this market to, I would effectively call this portion of the market cycle done. I'd effectively be looking for the next few months of trade sideways and down, probably more down in the short term and then more sideways in the medium and long term there. And then, well, maybe we come back to this one around the end of year when things have, probably stabilized. But again, monthly levels right here, just to end this one off. Next major one, which is actually very much confluent with the basement price to produce a Bitcoin right now, is about $45,000, give or take a little bit from that number. It doesn't need to be exact, but on the HPDR, it is 45.6. On the basement price, it is like 44.6. So it gives you a nice little $1,000 range there. If that one fails, it's probably not going to happen today, by the way. But if that one does fail, then you got just below $40,000 at 39.4. And then again, if that one fails, then I think worst case scenario, and this would have to be like World War III starting or something. It would have to be something like that, 33,400 or so. So that's going to do it for today. Pretty fucking crazy day. If you've been in this market now for like the past 4 years, I think you've earned your stripes. You've seen several black swans and some pretty just soul wrenching days in terms of that. Now, I've made no comments really on alts. Obviously, alts are probably going to be a higher beta play compared to Bitcoin. So I'm just looking at Ethereum right here. Like Ethereum down about 13%, Bitcoin down about 10%. A little bit worse there. I imagine, the shittier that the altcoin that you go, the worse and worse that it does get. So do keep an eye on that. But at the end of the day, look, if Bitcoin at reversing, and if you don't see it close above this number over here, it's highly unlikely that altcoins are going to, whatever altcoin you love is going to survive, even if it has great fundamentals. I'm sure it's probably super amazing. But on that note, we're going to shut things off. We'll be back tomorrow, hopefully with a live stream tomorrow. I'm still waiting on my new computer to come, but perhaps we'll just have to make it work with the old one for now. And yeah, that'll do it. All right. As always, I want to wish you the best. Take care. Much love. And again, it's a sincere message that if you are in this market today, take a deep breath. Don't panic. Whatever decisions that you're looking to make sure that it's based off of something that you have predefined logically. And we'll end on that note. As always, take care.